Hi folks, Robert Starmer here, bringing you another episode of Cumulus on Cloud. Today we're going to talk about the concept of multi-cloud versus hybrid cloud. There seems to be this trend now to using multi-cloud as a marketing message or a new way of thinking about cloud. And I think really we're just sort of adding terms without really adding a whole lot of value. The big concept behind multi-cloud versus hybrid cloud is that multi-cloud, we actually do have separate cloud resources. So classic multi-cloud environment today is to be using something like an Azure and an Amazon. Azure and Google, Google and Amazon, Amazon, IBM, Alibaba, and pick your favorite vendor of cloud. There are a number of them out there. A hybrid had always been this idea that you still had a single, effectively administrative interface into the cloud. And I think that's the thing that differentiates the concept. We are still seeing hybrid use cases and even hybrid service models on top of multi-cloud type infrastructures. And there what you're seeing are things like Kubernetes plus a service mesh, likely something like Istio or the Linkerd mesh or Nginx mesh. It doesn't really matter. The idea being that you use a Kubernetes layer potentially in multiple clouds, and there is an operational difference in how you deploy and manage those underlying Kubernetes resources, but then the actual deployment of the cloud services on top of that becomes consistent. So it gets us back to this concept of hybrid single interface versus multi-cloud, multiple separate interfaces. So the operations staff, unfortunately, still gets to bear the brunt of this and has to deal with operating the underlying resources and services within those different cloud environments. We also have the fun of trying to normalize our billing across different cloud environments. And if we actually bring in our own data center resources, understanding the costs or cost benefits of keeping something in-house versus moving it into one of those remote clouds is, of course, still something we have to tackle. So the biggest benefit behind the concept of multi-cloud, of course, is that you can start to make use of the different cloud providers' sort of best services and best resources. For example, Google right now may have, and I think probably most folks would agree, has one of the best AI platforms currently available. So their TPU system is one of the best available beyond the I don't mean this in a negative way, but the generic NVIDIA-driven machine learning and AI platforms. Their TPUs are available at scale. Amazon also has a TPU platform, as does Azure. I believe IBM Cloud may even have one as well at this point. And not to belittle those, but I do think that Google potentially sort of is considered the thought leader in that class of service. In the function as a service serverless space, if you haven't gone all the way to function as a service on top of Kubernetes, something like potentially Knative is the most common one that comes to mind. You might be building serverless platforms and leveraging the API gateway services and Lambda functions in Amazon, or classic VMs. Yeah, in a sense, they're dime a dozen. Well, dime an hour, I guess, is really almost what they are. But even there, we see a lot of interest in selecting the most cost-efficient method and service available. Then you, of course, still have the question of storage normalization when you go to a truly multi-cloud environment. How do you make sure that your storage is being handled appropriately? And there I'm still seeing the classic, keep the storage in your own data center, in your hybrid but private data center, and then move all the other resources, the front-end services, the public-facing resources into a cloud provider, or again, as we're talking about now today, this concept of multi-cloud. So again, multi-cloud gives us the ability to talk to all these different providers, and hybrid tries to reel that back in by providing a single interface. Today, I think the single interface that most people are moving towards is to deploy a Kubernetes layer in each of those different clouds. Now, the multi-cluster SIG special interest group within the Kubernetes community is working on making it easier to normalize those different clusters, because within the cluster you still have similar control, but again, underlying resources, where are you keeping your metrics and your logs, and how are you normalizing those services and functions? As I mentioned earlier, the billing question is still, I think, a fairly large one. You also have the potential of some underlying, again, this is the operations, the underlying underlying operations services do have the challenges of coming up with a consistent security model across the different cloud providers, because everybody has a similar, but again, of course, slightly different systems model under the covers. So as we normalize much of this to Kubernetes, that's great. And if we're using, again, something like an Istio or a Linkerd as our ingress point into the cloud, then at least we have a consistent service ingress into our environment. We can luckily extend our multi-cloud migrating to hybrid models by also including some of the zero trust systems models. So basically we're going to have a central certificate management service that would live in most likely one of our clouds and not multiple of them, at least today. But that service can then basically authenticate and validate all of the edge resources, even our third-party edge resources that want access to our systems, so that we're, again, further limiting the security impact and some security access resources coming into our clouds, but still giving us the flexibility of selecting which cloud based on cost, based on performance, based on locality, maybe, again, based on service capabilities, service benefits of a particular cloud. So this is a high level, again, of this concept of multi-cloud versus hybrid. And what I really want you to take away from this is this concept that that multi-cloud is something that may make sense in certain instances. I think at a minimum, you should be running in multiple availability zones, multiple regions, even better, but at a minimum, multiple availability zones for your application. Moving to multi-cloud really does add overhead to the system. It adds overhead from billing, security management, underlying systems operations, especially if you can go the Kubernetes route and at least have a consistent application development and lifecycle deployment process. But that's really the trick. So if you hear multi-cloud versus hybrid, they are different things. And again, hybrid gives us that one consistent interface into our services. That's something that Kubernetes can provide. Multi-cloud is leveraging the best resources and service capabilities of the underlying clouds and the different cloud providers that are available out there, including using your own private cloud. I think we all want to get to hybrid cloud versus multi-cloud, although being able to use a multi-cloud environment can be very useful for certain use cases. Thanks for watching. Really glad that you're here. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Click the little bell if you want to get notified for when we post new episodes, and stay tuned for the next episode. We're really glad that you joined us.